9 years later, her laughter sliced through the cafe's hum, sharp and unguarded, spilling over the clink of cups and the low murmur of strangers. Lila's joy was a rare, reckless thing tonight, her head thrown back, her dark curls catching the amber glow of the pendant lights. 9 years after she'd rebuilt herself from the ashes of her past, she was finally whole again, or so she thought. The cafe smelled of roasted coffee and warm pastries, the air thick with chatter and the faint strum of a guitar from the street outside. Then her eyes snagged on him, and the world froze. Mark stood in the doorway, his silhouette framed by the dusk leaking through the glass. His face was older now, etched with lines she didn't recognize, but those green eyes still burned with the same quiet intensity that had once undone her. Her laughter died, replaced by a pulse hammering in her throat. He wasn't supposed to be here, not in this city, not in her life. 9 years ago, she'd walked away from their shared apartment, her heart a shredded thing, after finding that lipstick-stained shirt in his laundry basket. The shade wasn't hers. The truth had unraveled slowly, in silences he couldn't explain and receipts she wasn't meant to find. Lila, her friend Nora's voice cut through the fog, tinged with concern. Lila's fingers tightened around her coffee mug, the ceramic hot against her palms. She forced a smile, but it felt like a grimace. "I'm fine," she lied, her voice barely above a whisper. Her mind churned. He's just passing through. It's a coincidence. But the way his gaze locked onto hers, deliberate and unyielding, told her otherwise. He moved toward her, each step a slow, deliberate stab at her composure. She'd spent years convincing herself she'd misread the signs back then. The late nights at work, the sudden password on his phone, the way he'd started calling her babe, like it was a reflex instead of feeling. She told herself it was stress, not betrayal. Even when she found the shirt, she'd hesitated, her love for him is stubborn, not she couldn't untie. But the truth had clawed its way out, and she'd left before he could confirm it. Now, here he was, standing 3 feet away, his hands shoved into his pockets like he was still the man she trusted. "Lila," he said, his voice low, almost tender. It sent a shiver down her spine, equal parts longing and rage. "Can we talk?" Nora's eyes darted between them, her fork hovering over her cake. Lila's chest tightened, her breath shallow. She wanted to scream, to demand why he was here, but the cafe's warmth felt suffocating now, the chatter too loud, the lights too bright. "Not here," she managed, her voice brittle. They stepped outside, the autumn air biting at her skin. The street was alive with the clatter of heels on pavement and the distant wail of a siren. Mark's breath clouded in the cold, and she hated how familiar it felt. "I didn't know you'd be here," he started, but his eyes flickered, betraying the lie. I needed to see you." Her stomach twisted. Needed? After 9 years of silence? She wanted to believe him, wanted to fall back into the warmth of his voice, but the memory of that lipstick, crimson, brazen, flashed in her mind. "Why now?" she asked, her voice cracking. "You didn't fight for me then." His jaw tightened, and he looked away, the streetlight casting shadows across his face. "I messed up, Lila. I was scared. I didn't know how to fix it." His words were a blade, slicing through the fragile walls she'd built. Scared? She'd been the one awake at 3 a.m., replaying every moment, wondering if she'd been enough. She'd loved him with a ferocity that had left her hollow when it broke. Was there someone else? The question slipped out, raw and unfiltered. She'd never asked it back then, too afraid of the answer. His silence now was deafening, his eyes dropping to the ground. Her heart plummeted, the truth sinking in like a stone. Who was she? She pressed, her voice trembling with a mix of fury and grief. He shook his head, but the gesture was weak, defeated. "It didn't mean anything," he said finally, the words hollow. "It was a mistake. A mistake." The word echoed, sharp and cruel. She saw it all now. The late nights, the locked phone, the way he'd stopped touching her with intention. She'd rationalized it all, blamed herself, but here was the truth, stark and undeniable. Her hands shook, and she clenched them, nails biting into her palms. You let me walk away, she said, her voice rising. You let me think I was crazy. I'm sorry, he whispered, stepping closer. She backed away, the cold air searing her lungs. The street seemed to tilt, the world narrowing to the space between them. She wanted to hate him, to scream, but a part of her, the part that still remembered his laugh, his warmth, ached to forgive. That was the worst betrayal of all. Her own heart, still tethered to him. Then she saw it, a glint of gold on his left hand. A wedding band. The realization hit like a physical blow, stealing her breath. He'd moved on, built a life, while she'd been piecing herself back together. You're married, she said, not a question, but a wound. His eyes widened, guilt flashing across his face. Lila, he started, but she turned, her boots clicking against the pavement as she walked away, the cafe's laughter fading behind her. She didn't look back. Not this time. But as she rounded the corner, tears burning her eyes, she heard his voice call her name, soft and desperate. It wasn't enough. It never would be.